everybody, my name is Nozibele Qamngana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I just wanted to do something fun today. The other day I was chilling with school and I just randomly picked up my book and read snippets of the book to him, and he was having a good time. He was laughing and he kept on saying, I can't deal with how you change from one character to the next. And he was particularly having fun with how I was imitating Ma. And I just thought I could do that with you guys, because a lot of you that have read the book continuously to say I must turn the book into audio, because that will also be interesting to obviously bring out the different characters. So that's what I'm doing today. Before that though, I know there's gonna be comments that guys that are overseas, our followers that are overseas, still cannot buy the book. It is really expensive to ship out overseas. We are still in the process of having it online. I promise you, I know it's taking too long, but I promise you it is getting there. But for South Africans, you can buy the book. I will put all the details on the comment section and I'll pin it. And yeah, you can get it directly from me. I'll personally sign it and we are distributing it all over South Africa. So I hope you do enjoy this. So the part that I'm going to read is just after I discovered that I was HIV positive. I'm still in denial. I don't understand what just happened. I just walked out of the Wellness Day event and I'm basically navigating all of that. This is chapter 18 on the book. I was angry. I should have listened to my gut and remained upstairs and prepared for my meeting. I wasted 30 minutes of my time. For all that heartache, I still didn't get my first aid kit. I dialed Spoo's number immediately after walking out of the venue. I knew his extension by heart. He picked up after one ring. Baby, I was just going to... Spoo, ndivela kula ndewa nurse. I-HIV test yami iphume i-positive. Njani? Years later, I'll come to laugh at this moment. I bluntly asked my boyfriend how I was HIV positive. Like I was expecting him to casually say, oh yeah babe, I forgot to mention that to you. The doctor told me the same thing last week. Can you believe it? The line went dead. Usakhona? I asked him, panicking. Ewe. He was too calm for my liking. Did you hear what I just said? I asked again. Ewe. I could feel myself getting angry. I was getting irritated. I thought we needed to have a serious conversation when we were home. Osbu had this tendency of being calm in situations that did not require him to be calm. And that was one of those situations. He was acting as though I asked him if he was okay with chicken for dinner. The guy was not serious about his life. Still nothing. He didn't say anything. Okay, I'll call you back. Clearly I was not going to get the answers or the reassurance I needed from him. I was aware that I was late for my meeting, but I needed to make one quick stop before I returned upstairs. 10 minutes was not bad. I figured Robert would have to deal with it. Who schedules a meeting at 3:30 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon anyway? I hope Uncle Eddie is in today. I silently prayed as I made my way to our clinic. Uncle Eddie was a male nurse in our in-house clinic. We got along very well. I always regarded him as a father. I was not sure if it was ideal to talk to him about this incident, but I didn't have a choice. As soon as I walked in, I was greeted by Upriya. She walked with Uncle Ed. Hello, Nozibele, she greeted. She was the only person who called me by my full name. She was saying it wrong, but I had long given up on correcting her. Only Ma called me by my full name, and only when she was angry. Everyone calls me Nozi. I explained that to her, but she never budged. Over the years, I warmed up to her calling me Nozibele. Hey Priya, is Uncle Ed in today? I wasn't in the mood for small talk. It's his day off. Can I assist with anything? She asked. I was hesitant. I wasn't sure if I could talk to her. She always seemed to have a big mouth, but I needed her help. And she was the only person that could listen and advise me from a clinical point of view. If she said anything to anyone, I was gonna hold her to a confidentiality clause. I was not supposed to, but I walked around the corner to stand close to her. I needed this to be as discreet as possible. I'm from the Wellness Day event. Something odd just happened. I was whispering. One of the nurses tested me positive for HIV. It's not possible, right? I paused. She didn't say anything. Her facial expression hadn't changed, but she didn't say anything. I thought maybe she wanted me to continue. She used one of those small testing kits. Can those things be wrong? I was questioning if a test that had been scientifically proven to detect HIV could be wrong. Ay, Nozibele, that can't be right. She seemed to be in disbelief as I was. Exactly. Do you guys do HIV tests? Is the doctor available? He had already left, Nozibele. I wish he would call me Nozi. But he will be back tomorrow. Do you want to try him then? She kindly asked. Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. The nurse did the test twice and both came out positive. But it can't be. Those things can be wrong, right? I asked again. I needed more reassurance. I had heard her before, but I wanted to hear it again. I wanted her to tell me that it wasn't possible, that those tests could be wrong. Yes, it cannot be. Don't panic, come back tomorrow. You can go to your doctor after work. Okay, let me do that. Thanks, Priya. I was getting back to my old self. Priya said it could not be. If there was a slight chance that those tests could be wrong, I was one of those unfortunate circumstances. I dialed Sbu again as I was walking outside, making my way back to my desk. Hi, my manners were back again. Hello. He was very cold. What the hell is wrong with him? I'm the one who tested HIV positive. This guy must not start with me, I thought to myself. I just came back from the clinic and they told me that those tests can be wrong. But I would like to make sure. I was thinking of going to a private doctor to do another test. What do you think? My voice was much calmer than how I felt inside. Do you mind if I go home? I'll meet you there. What? I wasn't sure if I heard right. Things were getting weirder by the minute. Still puzzled and confused, I continued. No, you can't. You cannot go home. I won't be okay until I go to the doctor and get a retest. Doesn't this thing worry you? The line went quiet. Hello? Okay, but I'll have to ask Brendan first. This is how he sounded when he didn't agree with me, but he knew better than to argue any further, especially when I felt strongly about something. Okay, sharp. I have a meeting with Robert now. I will call you afterwards. I quickly hanged up the phone before he tried to change my mind. I went to my desk to take my notepad and hurried to Robert's office. I apologized for being late and he didn't seem puzzled. Okay, let's start with the basics, he began. It was nothing short of a miracle that I sat through the whole meeting and pretended I was interested in what Robert was saying. My mind kept on drifting to those two tests. They both tested positive. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. There was much more I wanted to ask, but I didn't have the time. I wanted to beat traffic and make it to the doctors before they closed. I rushed to my workspace, tidied up my desk, called Sbu to tell him that I was going to meet him at the security gates, and raced out of the office. It wasn't until I was in the parking lot that I realized that I didn't ask anyone to leave early. Oh well. It suddenly hit as I was getting inside my car that I could not go to Dr. Gonda, our family doctor. He knew both parents very well. My appointment was not the casual "my tonsils are swollen." I needed to confirm that I was HIV negative. I didn't know how I was going to start that conversation with him. I didn't want him to know that I was sexually active. He knew me as a conservative church girl. Everyone knew me as a conservative church girl. I could not have people thinking that I was having sex. I had to go to another doctor. Sbu worked at the customer service department, situated on the other side of our factory. We met outside the security gates. I parked my car next to his and briefed him on my plans. I can't go to my doctor. He knows my family and I don't feel comfortable. Okay, we'll go to mine. I couldn't read his expression. Okay, I'll follow you, I said as he started his car. I followed. I didn't have to worry about getting home late because Ma thought I was at school. I wished it was our normal Thursday. We would have been driving to Sbu's place, we'll watch movies, cuddle, and make love. But we couldn't. We were on our way to the doctor to get a third test to prove that I was HIV negative. That we were HIV negative. We arrived at the doctor's and we were greeted by two ladies that Sbu seemed to know well. I deliberately dismissed myself from their conversation by waiting at the visitor's lounge. I didn't want to be part of any awkward discussions. I had had my fair share for the day. He needed to take one for the team. One of the ladies took a file from the cabinet. At that moment, Usbu came to me. They say you won't be able to consult with the doctor. Since it's your first time coming here, they will need to call the medical aid office to verify your details. It's after 4 p.m. and they're already closed. So what's the plan? I'll see the doctor and test since I already have an N16 file, he continued. Oh, okay. That sounded much better. I had already made up my mind that we were not going to leave until one of us consulted with the doctor. We sat together while we waited to be called. I was in disbelief. I was waiting at the doctor's to confirm that I was HIV negative. I couldn't believe that this had come to be my reality. I tried to relax, but I could not shake this uneasy feeling. It was then that it finally hit me that Usbu and I had never gone for an HIV test together. We had never been together in one room with a doctor and test for HIV. It was in that moment I started revisiting some of our conversations when I was in Germany. I had sent him my results when I came back from the doctor. I had never received his. His last comment around the issue was when he made a joke about visiting the doctor all the time. I had assumed he was telling me that everything was fine and I had no reason to worry. He never confirmed his HIV status. I would have continued going into this dark world if it wasn't for the Idols rerun that were playing. They had the wooden mic contestants singing their hearts out. There was a guy that slaughtered a Beyonce song. The judges couldn't hold it together. Unati was crying from laughing. I wondered if those people really thought they could sing. I thought about the number of hours they must have spent rehearsing. They traveled all corners of the country to only make fools of themselves on national TV. I was laughing with the judges, much to the irritation of Sbu. I gave him one of my "you'll have to be strong, chap" looks. He had been playing with his phone the whole time. I needed the distraction. As I was waiting for another contestant to come in, we were called in. A doctor with a very strong African accent greeted us. I couldn't tell where he was from. He had a very warm smile that made me feel at ease. "Hi guys, how can I help you today?" he asked. It was Sbu's doctor. He needed to do all the talking. I looked at him. He looked at me. I felt blood rushing to my face. I tried hard to keep it in, but I was on some, "Dude, you better speak up. This is your doctor." I was sure he read my facial expression because he started talking. "Hi, doc. We've come for an HIV test." "What made you take that decision?" the doctor asked. Sbu looked at me and asked, "Should I tell him?" "Hey, Betwan! Modimo, this guy is going to be the end of me." I was annoyed by Sbu's behavior. I didn't know what was wrong with him. He was acting strange. My girlfriend had an HIV test at work and she tested positive. They've already done 2 tests. We would like to do another test. "Okay, I understand," the doctor replied. "Can those tests be wrong, doc?" I jumped in. There's a margin of error with every test. However, I'm a bit skeptical if they've already done 2 tests and they gave the same result. But I'm happy to do a retest. I'm assuming they pricked you. "Yes, doc." "Okay, we will do the lab test. We draw blood and take it to the lab. They test it and return the results." "How long does that take, doc?" I asked. "Because we're already close. The blood samples will be picked up tomorrow. It will take another day or 2 after that. So I'll say Monday." I involuntarily rolled my eyes. Great, another delay. I'll have to spend now my entire weekend thinking about this nonsense. The doctor must have read my mind because he continued with, "But you know, HIV is not a death sentence it used to be." Lord, here we go again. We didn't come here for a motivational talk. There are so many strides that we have made towards making sure that people live longer. I guarantee you that in the next 5 to 10 years, we would have found a cure. Even if the test comes out positive, you will still be able to have a family of your own. That won't prevent you from living your life. Lord, make this guy stop. "Thank you, doc. If you don't mind, can we do the test now?" I could feel that I was about to snap. "My assistant has already told me that you will do the test." He looked at Sbu. "Yes, doc." He had been quiet this whole time. "Okay, let me take you to another consultation room. My assistant will help you." We made our way out of the room. As they entered the next room, I walked back into the waiting room. Sbu was a big boy. He could manage getting pricked on his own. Besides, I needed to sit. I had a headache. I felt lightheaded. I wanted to cry. What would people think of me, of my family? What will happen when I start showing signs, like losing weight, or when I need to start treatment? This wasn't supposed to happen. I'm a church girl. I'm the girl that parents use as an example to discipline their children. I'm my family's pride. My mom is a respectable woman at church in our community. What would become of her? The TV was still on. The Wood and my contestants were no longer funny. 5 minutes later, Usbu reappeared. If I questioned how he felt before, his eyes gave it away. I was not sure what happened in the consultation room, but it wasn't okay. He looked pale. I could tell that he was just as stressed. You need to monitor your blood pressure, but it's way too high, I heard the assistant telling him. Okay, he replied. Okay seemed to be the only answer that day. We'll call you as soon as we receive the results. But my guess is that the results will come back Monday, she finally said as she handed him a small packet of pills to lower his blood pressure. I took my bag and made my way out of the door. I was sure the fresh air would do me good. I was starting to feel suffocated. The short walk back to our cars was very quiet. I didn't know what to say. I was almost certain that he felt the same. We got into our cars and told him I'll follow him home, to his flat. I still had 2 hours before my class ended. Every fiber of my being wanted to go home. But how was I going to explain to Ma that I was home early? As I was about to drive off, I saw 2 assistants from the doctor's office peeking through the window, looking at us. Damn it! I hope they didn't recognize us. The 5-minute drive from the doctor's to his flat felt longer. There was so much on my mind. I need to go over my notes from today's meeting with Robert. I wonder if he saw I was offish. I could be HIV positive. I was too loud with that nurse. I wonder if anyone else heard me. This was just too much. We arrived and I was immediately put off by Umkulu as I parked my car next to Sbu. Mkulu was a 60-year-old man who lived across the street. He was a joker who often asked when Sbu and I were getting married. I worried if he was going to call me, but unfortunately, Usbu got out first. He went to speak to him as I snuck inside. We got inside and it was a mess. There were dirty dishes, the bed was not made up. I would have tried to tidy up, maybe cook dinner, but I was not in the mood for that. I threw myself in one of the bean bags and I started crying. All the emotion that I had been holding in that day started coming back to me. I was confused, I was shocked, I was hurt, I was scared, I was disappointed. I felt him next to me. There was so much I wanted to ask. I pushed myself up and looked him straight in the eye. He was having a tough time keeping eye contact. Sbundizotini ekhaya. What if the results come back positive? How is this possible? Were you ever unfaithful to me? He quickly dismissed that. Then what happened? Please be honest with me, I pleaded. This cannot just happen, I continued. Nozi, I reassure you, I've always been faithful to you, he firmly said. He tried to hold me, but it was not the time. I shifted away from him. When did the doctor say the results would be back? My mind was not functioning anymore. The doctor had explained that earlier. On Monday. I wanted to ask more questions, but I was tired. The TV was on, but muted. We were staring into space. Suddenly, unexpectedly, he buried his face in his hands and started crying. I'm sorry, Nozi, he said with his voice trembling. God, this cannot be happening. I wanted to comfort him. I wanted to throw my hands on him. I wanted to tell him everything was going to be okay, because there was a part of me that still believed that those tests were wrong. But I couldn't bring myself to. I stayed in my corner and he stayed in his. It's 8 p.m. I need to go home. My normal class ends at 7:30. It took another 30 minutes to drive home from Summerstrand. I should already be home. I was late. And don't think my mom will not notice and ask what happened. I needed to think of some good story to tell her. The lecture took longer than expected, there was an accident on the freeway, or I had a tire burst on the way. I was sure one of those could work. I took a piece of what was left of a broken mirror in Sbu's bedroom and looked at my face. My eyes were blood red. I didn't have time to wash my face. I hope the 15-minute drive will dry them up and I'll be okay by the time I got home. We walked silently to my car. I said my goodbyes without looking at him. I climbed inside my car and drove off. Looking at the rear view mirror, I could see he was standing by the gate, watching me drive off. I couldn't think of him anymore. My concern was Ma. I needed to get hold of the situation. If Ma called first, I was dead. I searched my phone inside my bag and dialed her number. It rang once and the line went quiet. Lord, she does this when she's in one of her moods. I could see she picked up the call, but she wasn't going to say anything. She was waiting for me to say something. I knew how to play this game. Whoever talked first was the loser. Since I was the one in the wrong in this case, I decided to go first. In any case, you never won with Ma, even when she was in the wrong. Mama? Oh Lord, she was in one of her moods for sure. And she was not going to make this easy for me. God help me. Not today. Not today. Benifuna ukuxelela uba ndisendleleni. Ulecturer wethu utsalile namhlanje but ndisendleleni. Oh, okay. The line went dead. She dropped the call. God, I can usually handle umama, but not tonight. I won't be able to handle her insults. Please be with me. I silently said my prayers as I continued to drive home. From experience, I knew it was going to take more than prayers to deal with my mother. All because I was half an hour late. Lord Jesus. 10 minutes late, I drove into our yard. I had already consoled myself that I should expect several traffic fines in a few weeks. I lost count of the number of traffic lights I skipped. Lord, once again, please be with me. Mole! I greeted everyone as I walked through the door. I found Buti's eyes and he shook his head, which was a signal to ignore Ma's attitude. I knew this too well because this is what I did when he was in trouble. At this point, Ma hadn't said a word but continued to watch whatever was on TV. I am a tuna going go by late. You kaloku besigqibezela assignment. So sashiywa lixesha. Niyayazi kaloku asinaxesha emini siyaphangela. Ma looked at Ubuti. He shook his head and started playing with his phone. She went back to watching TV. Oh Lord, the drama in this house can be too much. I'm a 22-year-old woman, educated, have a full-time job, but yet this woman insists on treating me like a child. Kuphekwe ntoni? I asked my niece, Uspokazi. She was visibly afraid to say anything to me. When things were this tense at home, everyone knew to keep quiet in case everything turned on them. Ma stood up, switched off the TV and said, Mastanaze, koko silinde abantu kaloku abathi bavele esikolweni. Jehovah, you can take me now, Father. My brother smiled at me sadly. Breathe. Just breathe. She led the prayer. Bawa wena ubona apho singaboni khona. Oh Lord, here we go, Jesus. Sinekela konke kuwe Thixo wami, hlala nabantwana bethu Yehova. Sababolekwa nguwe, abasimameli. Akho nto singayenziyo, sincedise ke bawo. Guys, only Ma could be this shady in a prayer. Siyabulela ke Nkosi egameni kaYesu, amen. During prayer, it didn't matter even if you were in the middle of your prayer. If Ma was done, then everyone was done. She took her pills on top of a table, tidied up her chair, and went into her room. That was all she was prepared to say. I was deliberately left with all the guilt. As soon as I woke up, I made the decision that I was going to make an appointment to see another doctor with Spoo. A fourth opinion would not hurt anyone. I had finished making up my bed when I remembered that I had unfinished business with Uma from the previous night. My life. My office was a 15-minute drive from home. Since Ma and I were on the same route, we drove together. I prayed that she would be in a better mood, but experience had taught me that her sour mood could last the whole week if she wanted to. I would have to just bear it. By the time I was done, she was waiting for me in the TV room. Dikabile mama singahamba. I was trying to be as cheerful as possible. I knew if she sensed 1 ounce of cheekiness in my voice, I would not make it to work alive. Without saying a word, she switched off the TV and started praying. Ma prayed all the time. She prayed when she woke up in the morning. She prayed when she was about to leave the house. She prayed when she came back from work. She prayed when she went to sleep. She woke up in the middle of the night and she prayed. I joined in. I needed more prayers today. Lord, please be with me today. Reversing the car out of the yard was an art. I had to park at an angle because we had a corner house. I could not easily drive in straight into the yard. I had to slowly drive in and immediately turn the car to my right to fit into our veranda. Every morning I had to get the car out first. When I was done, Uma would close the gate. There was a lot of back and forth that happened before I could eventually reverse out of the yard. That morning was not a good morning for that. I kept on stalling several times. Ma was waiting impatiently on the stoop with one hand on her hip. Jesus, please. I finally reversed out of the yard. Ma locked the gate and made her way to the car. Sis, she said as she got inside the car. She didn't need to say anything further. I knew she was pissed. The ride to work was uncomfortably silent. There was no point in talking to her when she was like this. If I showed any remorse, she was going to exaggerate the situation further. In such cases, it was better to bear it out until she decided she wanted to talk to me again. I dropped her off at work. With no goodbyes, she climbed out of the car and banged the door. Well, that was a good start to our day.